Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine show with Dani Devren. This is our The Universal Laws Decoded show, and our show in general is a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakening, offering listeners practical tools and soul stirring insights to reclaim their inner authority. And today, with Dani, who's going to introduce herself, we're going to be talking about the first universal law, which is the law of divine oneness. So, welcome, Dani, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. This is very exciting. So, yes, thank you, Nicole. I am Dani Devren from the UK, and I am a soul aligned marketing and visibility expert. And for Sovereign Magazine, I am the multidimensional, I've written it down just so I didn't say it wrong, multidimensional law of attraction, manifestation, and energy alignment expert. And I'm so excited to be here and talk to you guys today about what the universal laws mean for me and how I've woven them into my business and how I show up in the world and in my life. And yes, what I specialize in is supporting mainly women, predominantly in business, with their confidence, their marketing, their organic marketing. So anything that they can control, their visibility and their discovery, self-discovery, predominantly through Instagram. But because of my own personal awakening and my attachment with all things personal spiritual growth, I weave in a lot about how you see the world and how I believe, we are here to be better humans and to treat each other with more love and kindness. So that's all kind of encapsulated into the way I support my clients.
Yes, yes. Okay. I love that because you and I have talked about this before, how we both believe love, kindness, joy is a part of who we are and what we want for this world. So, as we go through this year-long series, so if you aren't liked, shared, or subscribing, definitely do all of those because we're going to go through all 18 laws of universal laws. I always want to say law of attraction because that's the one
Yeah,
we
I know.
think about. But I would love for you to start out by first explaining what is the law of one divine oneness? Like, because as somebody who only knows about the law of attraction and
Yeah.
very little about it, I get to learn with all of you about all of these universal laws. So why don't we start with the basics of what is
Yeah.
it?
So, the law of oneness is the fact that everything is connected. So, what we know about the universe is everything is energy. And what I especially love about the explaining what the law of oneness is, it means that everything is intertwined. We are all as one. And I think it really helps to realize that along with the other universal laws, like every action has a reaction and all those sort of ones, but the law of oneness really holds responsibility in the way that we show up because we know that how we see each other, how we deliver ourselves, everything is connected and everything functions fundamentally from the same matter. And that is like the most simple way to explain it. But I think it's different interpretations and how you can sort of embody it. But generally, it means we're all connected. We're all divine. We're all on this earth plane at the moment as humans, humanity. Every single thing that we touch and inhabit, and everyone that we come across, and every word that's spoken, it's all connected.
Mm. I love this so much because I believe in connection. I remember when we first met, you said, I've been calling this in, and we connected across the pond. I'm in the US, she's obviously in the UK. And so I definitely believe very strongly in the law of oneness. But for somebody who perhaps is feeling alone or isolated, how would
Mm.
you explain the law of oneness? Like, I know you talk a lot about Instagram, so I always love bringing it back there because that's something really relatable to everyone, social media, right? And so for somebody who's maybe perhaps showing up, but they're not getting the likes or the views or the whatever, and they're feeling very alone in their business journey and not feeling that connection, how do you describe maybe that energy and what can truly make us feel connected when we might be feeling alone or isolated?
That's a beautiful question. And I think this is what has always come very natural to me, that I realize now I have a responsibility to teach it because it doesn't come natural to others. A lot of people can feel alone and they strive to seek out the things that show them that they're not alone. But actually, when you take a step back and realize that it means so much more to be present and to show up and to be available, because what you give is what you receive. And that's what I love about it. Like if you're showing up somewhere, you are with others because you are choosing to put yourself forward. So, of course, if you give, you are receiving. And I think, especially online, like it's been really difficult over the last few years where we start to question our value, our worth based on the reaction of others. And that's why it's a real self-discovery mindset kind of evolution where you have to remember just because somebody doesn't like or comment, it doesn't mean you haven't resonated. It doesn't mean your words haven't landed. It doesn't mean they don't see you. Sometimes people don't want to be seen, but they are always there. And I think that is a beautiful way of seeing social media, like humanity in general, like the way we can function is to offer a service and to offer companionship and to be there together, even if somebody doesn't want to know that they're being seen, right? And sometimes when you are showing up on social media, there's a responsibility there to be offering yourself for other people to receive you. And actually, like that's a really lovely reframe. So rather than thinking I'm alone, actually you're giving. You're in the process of giving a bit of yourself. So of course, have boundaries and be mindful. How much do you want to give right now? But know that that's a beautiful exchange. So how can we ever feel alone if we're there physically, energetically giving? That means somebody is on the receiving end of it. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it does. It does make a lot of sense. And I think that, there's this saying right now. I don't remember which study it was, but it came out this last week that teens are feeling more disconnected than ever, despite being more connected than ever,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it has to do with, I believe, the integration of that connection, right? Is it fleeting? Is it just a quick, you know, unintentional message, right? Whenever I message in the business, I'm always super present with that message. And it's not just one thing I just, send off, right? And so I think one of the things that I would love, and I would love for you to share, you've shared about this on our podcast, but this is a new show. So I want to
Yeah.
reiterate this is you talked about how when you show up on Instagram, like showing up and doing what actually lights you up, because I
Mm.
think that is the connection that people are looking for is that spark, that flame. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I just want to go back quickly about the comment about teens. So what I find really sad is the disconnection is because they're seeking validation from others. And unfortunately, that has been the downfall of the rise in social media because pretty much it happened during lockdown where we were all so isolated. So we seeked out that connection because that comes naturally to humans. That's what we need, right? We thrive in communities. We need each other. So, of course, in lockdown, especially young teens that are at that age where they're very vulnerable and they need that as much as, more than they ever need it, right? So, what they ended up doing was seeking that validation, seeking the results, seeking all of that response. And of course, on social media, that does feel very disconnected and flat because you're always seeking and seeking and you're not trusting what is already within you. And I think that's why I feel very strongly and passionately about teaching people how to show up on socials and realize that you need to remove the pressure that you put on yourself to seek the validation and know that you have to show up for you first, create for you, create and shout about what brings you joy, because that is the bit that will connect you to others. And that's why knowing that there is an invisible, energetic connection between you and others, it constantly tells you that how can I not feel that connection? It's physically, energetically there. We just can't see it. So that is something to always be mindful of. And it's really, really sad when, as humans, we forget that. And I think we've been conditioned to forget it, right? We've been conditioned that if it's not there, it's not real. But actually, we know gravity's real and we can't see it. We know so many things. Love is an emotion. You can't see it, you can feel it. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to consider that we are all connected in that energetic way. We just cannot physically see it. So, how could we ever possibly be alone? You just have to think of someone. And it's so interesting when you start doing this sort of work, because then it will start becoming really clear to you. And the universe, I believe, will bend to meet you and to show you these things. And that's what I guess manifestation is all about, being aware and rising your consciousness so you're aware of these things. But there's, loads of different examples. Like, when they say speak of the devil and the devil appears, right? When you're thinking of somebody, they can feel that. It's like an energetic thought transition. Something's going on some sort of radar plane somewhere, right? And I love that we don't know what it is, we can't explain it, but I believe we're not supposed to. And I'm always fascinated by quantum physics and neuroscience and all this amazing studies, but actually as humans we don't need to know, we just need to trust that it is, and so it is, right? And that's what prayer, manifesting, and all of this beautiful spiritual stuff is about. It's so it is because I said it is. Do you know what I mean? And it's like actually removing the outcome and the transition between now and time, and knowing that you draw it in and so it is. So it's the same as when you want to connect with somebody. You just do because you think it, you embody it, and it becomes. And I think there's something really beautiful to teach young people about that. When you become present with yourself and you become connected to your own inner power, you are then connected to the collective. And that's why when you can kind of disconnect from any conditioning, any, trauma, or all these stories that we tell ourselves, when you come back to who you really are and you can speak from that beautiful place, that's when you start attracting each other. And that's when you find your tribe and people come forward. And it's kind of like when you shine your light so that you can be seen. And that, I guess, is what I talk about when I say, find what lights you up so that you can light up those around you. But until you do it for yourself, it's going to be a dull switch. It's going to be off. The light is down. It's flat. It's negative. You're kind of chasing the wrong things. And that's what I think can be really sad about social media.
Yeah. I love this so much. It reminded me of a story. It's a long story, so I'll keep it short. But we basically had a flood in our house. We had to move out, get the floors all fixed, and come back. And part of that process was we received a check to get the floors fixed,
Wow.
but it had to be shipped off to our mortgage company, signed by them, and then shipped back to us. Well, in the process of it getting back, it got
Mm.
lost in the mail. And they were coming on Friday, and I had to pay them on Friday, and they'd already started the work. And so I tuned into the energy. I didn't know who I was talking to, but I
Yeah.
tuned into that energy and I just started talking to them, thanking them so much for doing their job. And I hope they had a beautiful day. And magically, the check arrived and was found by Friday, right? And I had no idea who I was talking to, no clue. But I just connected with them and just felt so much gratitude and love for them. And so it brings me to a question about, what do you think is probably the biggest misconception about the law of oneness?
Wow. So I would say the misconception is that you see one as only one. So you will see yourself as alone, right? And closed, and I am one. And I think that's what people need to actually realize, that actually we are all one. And that is what the divine law of oneness is. So when you think of someone, when you embody an emotion, when you decide to, like memories, I always think of it like that. How can we think of things that have happened in the past, right? Or how can you imagine something happening in your mind's eye? It's because everything is connected. And there's theories that say if you can imagine something, it's because on some point in your divine timeline, it happens. And I think that is bizarre. And I love that. And I think that's what fascinates me about manifesting and visualization and the power of that. Because if everything is one and it's on one plane, or it's on multiple frequency levels, but you have to tune in, like everything's connected in that way. And I just think that's a very beautiful concept to remember, that actually as a collective, and that's why I love all talk about the collective shift and the collective, mission and humanity and everything that you do, because that's to me what is human, right? We're here to support the collective, to rise with each other, to show love, gratitude, kindness, and to actually focus on the energy we want more of. So when you embody all of that and you put that into action, we're all connected. So why wouldn't we want to help and support each other? And I think it's a really interesting thing to bring forward in the harder times. And like you said, if something's going wrong, if somebody's having a bad day or someone's messed up, I send you love. I'm so thankful for your efforts, and I'm so grateful that you're having a great day, or whatever it is, right? And if you just show compassion and love and kindness, they'll feel that. And I genuinely believe they will feel it on some energetic level that everything's fine. I'm wished well. And then they do the thing they need to do, right? And then you end up benefiting because they've done it. And I just think there's something really pure about that belief, because it is a belief, it's a theory. We can't prove this stuff. But the more you believe in it, the more it happens, and then the more you're validated. And that's why I will always say the universe bends to meet you. And it happens to me all the time. For example, the most kind of the little things that mean the most, right? These little things that happen, I'm not, oh my God, thank you, universe, is, for example, if I've got a full diary and I am back to back and I'm so excited for all these calls, but realistically I've overstretched and I know I've got a deadline, I've got something to get done, usually my column for Sovereign. And I'm like, oh my God, I think I've over planned my diary. All of a sudden, I will get an email. I'm so sorry to do this. Can we move the meeting out? I'm like, oh my God, amazing. I swear this always happens to me.
It
Like the
always
universe
happens to me.
always, oh, I love
Always,
that.
always.
See?
I
And this is
know.
when you're connected and when you are open and when you just surrender control. And this is probably the most important thing that I try and teach. You have to surrender control. We're not here to force or control. You have to trust that it is, and so it is, right? And I love that because it really does start to reward you. And actually, I was thinking about this today. So, of course, I'm here as a manifestation expert, but I don't consciously talk about manifesting in my work, in my social media business, in my mastermind. I don't consciously teach people how to manifest. But what I do is I lead by example, by showing gratitude, by calling things in, by trusting the universe has your back. And what happens as a byproduct is you get the thing that you want because you know you're worthy of it. And when you fill that self-love cup and you know this is what's going to happen because it just is. It just is. I know it is. I want this to happen like that. I need this to happen like that. The universe will just make it happen. And sometimes it doesn't happen how you want it to. It happens how you need it to. And I was thinking today, because I was with my accountability coach and we were looking at goals and financial plans for the year. And I was actually thinking about how last year I remember consciously calling in a team. And I remember not really thinking much of it, just that I need a team, I want a team. And that was kind of it. It's like on some level, you kind of wish a prayer to the universe. And then things start to align. Because I remember thinking, I don't have the cash flow to recruit someone. That's not the kind of team I want. I'm not going to put out like, a job vacancy. It wasn't like that. I just knew I needed support and I wanted this dynamic. And now I've got it. And today it was the first day that I thought, oh my God, it happened. And it might not have happened in the way that I thought it could, but it happened. The universe gave me what I needed. And actually, it happened in a really beautiful way because these women stepped forward and they wanted to be a part of my mastermind and they wanted to learn from me. And they also had things that I needed. So I said, let's do it as an energetic exchange, which I am so in love with, like as a concept. And I know you resonate. Like sometimes it's not always a financial trade-off. As humans, we're here to serve, we're here to learn and help each other. So when you've got something that they want and they've got something that you need, oh my goodness, I'm like, universe, you did this. And I know it. I always trust that the universe brought them forward for those reasons. And it's the most beautiful, divine connections when that happens.
Oh, I love it. You are so saying so many things that just resonate with me because, first of all, back to the diary, I didn't know that happened to other people, but it happened to me so much. I just knew that it was like, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this day is going to be horrific. Like, I have so many calls. And then, like you said, people cancel, people move. And now, like, I think of it as a gift of time. I think of it as oh, what else can I do with that? I never get upset ever. When something
Yeah.
realigns, I trust that that was meant to be at a different time for whatever reason. And that gift of time, I reimagine it in a beautiful way. So I never get upset about my schedule changing because I know that the universe is rearranging things how
Yeah.
it's meant to happen.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted to say that I always say that my currency is actually time. I love that. Not that I don't love money, but I think my currency is in the gift of time, right? I give my time so much to so many people, and that's my currency, that's my gift. But I love that you were talking about how there's the energetic exchange. I believe that energetic exchange is sometimes so much more meaningful and
Yeah.
fruitful than the monetary value that
Def-
you could place
Yeah.
on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a big question for you, and she doesn't know any of these questions, so I'm
I
really
get so
putting her.
excited because I love the spontaneity of our conversations. I never know where you're going to go. I love this. Let's go.
You don't. And I think this is a perfect way to kind of wind down our conversation, as I know I'm conscious of time because it is very late in the UK for Dani today. So, for the people watching, what are some daily practices that you do to help you remind yourself, remain in the law of oneness, or attune to that frequency if you perhaps get lost?
Mm. The main thing that helps me is trust. I just truly fall back on trusting the divine timing. Like you were saying, I always know whatever is happening is meant to happen because it is. And that comfort and it brings such a sense of peace, really. Because when we're spiraling, when we can fall into a bit of a panic or we start stressing, I can very quickly ground myself and say, everything's as it should be, everything is working out, everything's going to be fine. And it's become so much easier now that I don't even consciously have to say that. It just calms me down because I just have so much trust and faith in divine timing, in the universe bending to meet me. And I think that's really, really powerful to teach people that. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I support my clients with is the law of allowing. And I love when I won't go over that one too much now because this is the law of oneness, but the law of allowing is my favorite. I know the law of attraction gets all the hype, that gets all the love, but actually the law of allowing is my favorite. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were asking me, because I think when you can ground yourself and just surrender control and just trust that everything is flowing exactly how it should, everything does just feel a lot easier. So that would be my
I'm
favorite.
looking to see which episode Law of Allowing is so that I can say, okay, Law of Allowing is just show 15, so you have a long time to
Long
wait.
time.
But I know you're going to subscribe to all of these episodes with Dani. Well, I feel super grateful because you are teaching me to awaken to a new religion, if you will, spirituality,
That's
if you will, right? Because I didn't know about all of these
it.
universal laws.
You both
Like
know.
I said,
Yeah.
the law of attraction is the one that I've only ever heard the
Of
most.
course.
And so I appreciate that you are helping us awaken to something that's positive, something that's joyful, something that we can harness in our daily lives. And trust. I love trusting. Trusting is one of my biggest, oh gosh, feelings that I embody because I have learned time and time again, like when something bad
Yeah.
happens and I'm
It's just
like, it-
have you
yeah,
heard
it's
the
in my,
expression,
yeah,
rejection is God's protection? I remember that constantly. Obviously, I talk of the universe, but universe, God, it's all one of, it's the same source, right? Divine source. And it's a really comfort when you know that whatever's going wrong, it's because something better is coming in its place. And actually, when you start to realize that nothing's wrong, nothing was a mistake, nothing, there's no accidents here. This is all divinely timed and created. And that's what I think takes the pressure off doing life because life can be hard, right? Humans, we're
yeah,
complicated. Emotions
yeah.
are a lot. Like we have to juggle multiple things. So when you can just take that pressure off and just trust that everything is exactly how it should be, and there's always lessons in it, it's a really beautiful way to do life, I think.
And things won't pass you by. If you were supposed to go down this path and you went this way, the universe will realign you to get back
That's
over
it.
there.
Yeah.
That's where that trust comes back in. It's not going to pass you by. It's just going to come in a different timeline. And I think that's another thing that I have learned the most in this business, if you will, is we in the human world believe in time, but in the universal world, there is no time. And so my time here on earth is so
Mm,
impatient, but I have
yeah.
learned to be so incredibly patient because when I am, the
Yeah.
gift on the other side is so much better than I could have ever imagined in my human brain.
Yes. Do you know what? That's a whole conversation for another time because quantum realms and quantum physics and time, it blows my mind. Like, I love the concept that there is no time. Like, there's just different frequencies and you have to call it in, and it just is on some level, it just is somewhere happening. And I think that's, yeah, it's fascinating. I love that.
Well, as you can see, our conversations are going to be so dynamic. So definitely tune in. Our next one is going to be the law of vibration. And so definitely subscribe so that you can get the notifications when each one drops. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.
You're very welcome, and I appreciate you way more. Trust me, I do. Thank you.
Okay, much love.
Bye bye.